to gain control of this anxiety?
So some of the techniques that I'm going to share with you tonight are a little metaphorically, as if imagine yourself at a beach and you see this giant wave coming at you, and you could stand there and get clobbered by it and get thrown underneath the surf and get tossed around, and it does a lot of damage. This is an alternative where you see this wave coming, you know it's heading right at you, and you take a deep breath and you sort of duck below the surface, and you know that the wave will pass over you. There will be more. We know there is more stress coming, but it gives us these moments of reprieve where we can dial down and retrain our nervous systems to know that moment of peace, which for a lot of people is really hard to access. But these are very learnable, tangible tools. And thankfully, we're living in a time where we have so many resources at our fingertips. There's meditation apps available. I'll be happy to share some with people. You don't need to look much farther than YouTube. If you put in something like guided imagery for stress or anxiety, there are a multitude of resources out there. The question is just finding the one that works best for you, one that you like, and the one that you like is the one that you'll do.
Dr. Matt, any Dr. Matt techniques on that?
Sure, and that's super important. You have to find something you like, because if you're not going to force yourself to do something that you don't like to do. One of the things that I would also recommend, we have to move, and I think we're finding ourselves with the greatest of intentions in the beginning of this period of I'm going to exercise, I'm going to be doing all these different things, and then as time goes on, I did it yesterday, I'll do it tomorrow. And then that tomorrow, maybe 2 to 3 days. But we have to stick with a sort of a schedule. Part of what's thrown into flux right now is that we really all do live on schedules. And the schedules now have changed. Not that we don't necessarily have one, especially if you're working from home and you're still raising kids and you have to, change your hats so rapidly, and your schedule has just added to it. But finding that schedule and keeping with it is really important. Like Donna said, there are tons of opportunities for exercise apps that will actually do guided classes. And the importance of eating right and eating well during this time is also, immensely important. I will say one other thing, and that's that I personally gave up caffeine many, many years ago. And if I get it slipped to me at a restaurant, I am in bad shape, right? I'm up all night. And so I know personally that I would never order a double espresso at 10 o'clock at night after dinner. So why anyone watches the news, the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock news nowadays, I don't know, because that is the equivalent to a triple shot of espresso, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to ask you guys this question. Part of the anxiety, part of what drives our anxiety, I think, are expectations that we have for ourselves during a time like this. Okay. How am I supposed to perform? How am I supposed to perform as a professional, as a spouse, as a parent, as a friend? What are reasonable expectations that we should have of ourselves at a time in which, even though we're isolated, there is really heightened expectations for our performance in many respects. So what expectations should we have of ourselves, and what expectations should we have of our kids?
Excuse me. I think, if I may, we have to give ourselves some love here. We really do. We're in a situation we've never been in before. So our expectations have to be dialed back. Depending on where our kids are in their lives, one of the things that we're not talking a lot about right now is the sense of loss. And there's a heavy-duty sense of loss. It's loss of opportunities to do things, loss of opportunities to see people. Our high school seniors, they're experiencing tons of loss, where the certain rites of passage that most of us have been able to go through is not something they're going to be able to experience. So we need to appreciate and validate that experience of loss of these things that we're on right now, so we can mourn that. And then once we mourn that, we put ourselves in the mindset of, this is okay that I'm not necessarily operating 100% when I normally would. because I'm in a situation. Again, it's bringing us back into that moment of understanding where we are and that expectation. And lots of times when we're dealing with our kids who may not necessarily have all those verbal skills to express themselves, they may be experiencing some feelings of anxiety and loss as well. And they may be overwhelmed by it, will be, reacting out, and there'd be more physicality between siblings and what have you. Certainly some troubles with sleeping. Adults experience difficulties with sleeping. Certainly our children can too. So we have to understand that this is something that we're all need to be cognizant of, aware of ourselves, and be kind to ourselves to dial back the expectations that we have.
Thank you. Donna?
Thank you, Matt. And yeah, I would just add to that when we're grieving, and we're grieving our lives like we knew it 1 month ago. Things are dramatically different for us. And like the stages of grief, we go through different things. It will come in waves and hit us very hard, and maybe we feel a little bit paralyzed in those moments. If ever there's a time for self-compassion, it's now. Give ourselves a break, that we are not in the thriving mode necessarily. More often, a little bit like survival mode, trying to make the best decisions we can to get through the day without as much wear and tear as possible.
Yeah, very, very, very important. Now I know why I go to the two of you consistently if I have issues with people that I need help with, including myself. So are you guys ready if we open it up to some questions?
Sure,
Okay.
about that.
All right, look, Rabbi Derma, do we have any questions?
So nobody has sent me any yet. Let this be an invitation.
You mean 51 Jews and no one has asked a question? This cannot be.
As we're speaking, it pops into my so,
okay.
So our first question is from Bobby Skoll. I just finished, and I'll quote her what she sent. I just finished 14 days of being quarantined. I have no problem right now staying in the house. My problem is that I've become paranoid about going out to the store, to the supermarket, to the drugstore, etc. The idea of going out away from my safe house is frightening. And I'm guessing that there's a question within that larger statement about this sense of feeling safe and secure, and to what extent should we be able to venture off, at least for the basic necessities of life, and how do we cope with the anxiety and the fear that we feel in that unknown space? And Bobby, feel free to jump in. I don't want to take your words.
Matt, Anna, do you want to jump in to respond?
Yeah, I'm going to say that that's real. Paranoid is a strong word, but to be deeply concerned about one's safety outside of the safety and comfort of our own homes is real. I saw a video today on the process that we need to go through just to unload our groceries, in the supermarket, things that we have to wipe down, and this whole extensive process, just bringing things into our homes, leaving things outside before we open them. And this is like nothing we've ever dealt with. So handling and touching anything outside our homes really does create that feeling of vulnerability.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that when you use that word paranoid, that's when we have to be really careful, because the idea of being paranoid is there's something wrong with you. And that is not, that's loaded with judgment, right? So that's when we want to take away that judgment. So how do we say that without the judgment? And that's, well, I'm afraid to go out. I'm concerned about what can happen to go out. And that changes it. That changes it. Now there's really nothing wrong with you. It's something that you have a fear because it's scary to go out. It's scary. My suggestion would certainly be to start slow and start small. Go for a walk around the neighborhood.
I've walked around the neighborhood. I don't
Good.
have a problem with that. Even that, when I see someone on the other side of the street,
Right.
I mean, especially with issues, I can't afford to get sick. None of us can.
Right.
But also because of the position I would be putting Steve in. I did not really have a problem with 14 days quarantined. And the reason why I had to was because somebody in our office had tested positive, was in the hospital. And once the whole office found out about it, we've been home for 2 weeks now. I did order out from BJ's, actually. They delivered, had the stuff left outside, brought everything in, wiped everything down. I mean, it was a major project, but everything was wiped down. Stephen and I are fine, but there are still some things I want to go out to get. And I'm finding it very, very difficult to get into the mindset of, if I wear the mask, if I wear the gloves and wipe everything back down when I come back in the, to the house, I should be okay. But I can't get myself to get into the car to go to the store.
You want to respond to that any further, Matt or Donna?
Well, listen, it makes sense that you would be. I think that what we have to do is we have to practice the as careful practices that we can, doing the research that we know. There's no magic words that we can give that's just going to take away the anxiety and the fear that you're going to experience. It's what you might want to think about is calling and seeing the different times we can go in. If there's different stages of there's a lot more people in than others, but it's going to be difficult, and I think that you just have to acknowledge that it's going to be difficult. That said, finding other ways or other people who might be able to support you, to try to help you doing that. But I think that you going on a small walk was great, because it's going on that baby step, and maybe going to a small place. BJ's is huge. Maybe a smaller place that might be something that you could sort of bite off a small taste of.
Thank you. What I'm getting here are a bunch of questions. It seems as though people want to go back to coping strategies. Okay. There are a few questions about coping strategies, and I'll pose the questions. If they want to jump in, I don't know if it was Norma or Mark, but it was also Joanne Scott, Mark or Norma Borton. They want to hear a little bit more, perhaps, about strategies of coping with this anxiety and this stress. Any other suggestions in terms of techniques stress management techniques that you could offer?
So the first thing before getting into any kind of a real formal practice is we all need a repertoire of things that are very nourishing and sort of induce a peacefulness within us. And it's, again, we touched on this, very individualized reading, ways that we can stay happily distracted. It goes without saying that we should not keep the news on very long. We should get the facts, the bare minimum, and move on from that. But catching up with friends, listening to music, picking up a new instrument, prayer, cooking, gardening, things that give us pleasure. These are a great way to stay busy. And you can sort of build a kind of a bubble around your life temporarily. And these are also mental health maintenance strategies, just to be involved and absorbed in things that we like doing. And when we're really focused on something, we're not thinking about something else. The idea is to really allow ourselves to get immersed in something that we enjoy. Exercise, walks, appreciating nature, and one of the blessings I think we've all found has come from this is the recognition of what's essential, and what's not essential. And we are really caught in this. We would like to be doing lots of other things, but what is it that we can do that really nourishes us deeply? And most of us within our own homes can find a multitude of things. And even if it's just the gratification of beginning to do Pesach cleaning and starting to donate things, there's just something about doing something, not getting stuck with the stress and tension that just wants to collect, which is even a form of clutter. And now we'll get into these practices that are a way of decluttering, because they do accumulate.
I just want to say this, and Matt, I'll throw it over to you after that. You mentioned Pesach, Donna. And you know, I know Pesach is going to be very different for all of us this year in ways that, you know, we're going to have Passover like we've never had before. And Monday, by the way, Rabbi Durman and I are going to be addressing that. But what I want to say is I think even if it's one person or two people or three people, we've got to find ways to make Passover really a celebration this year. We need a celebration. And what I will tell you on Monday is that just as we're Zooming tonight, and I know you don't need my permission for this, all right? I know you guys. But I want to tell you that in the rabbinate, there are such monumental changes going on right now to try to help people get into experiencing Passover in a beautiful way. So it has come down from on high, you know, in the world of the rabbinate, that this year, because of the crisis and because there is a great human need to have people together, the suggestion is that we Zoom or whatever media platform you want to use, we Zoom Sidorim, so that even if there were one or two people sitting at a table, there may be 10 people on the Zoom, and we can go through it together. And that's a startling sort of change, because what the rabbinate is saying is, yeah, we know what Jewish law is, we get it, we understand it, we teach it, we live it, it's us, but we're understanding that our people now need Pesach. They need to get ready for Pesach. They need to feel something special. They need to feel like they're doing something really special, that they're preparing in a different way, that they're celebrating, above all, a holiday that has absolute meaning for what we're going through right now. Because, by the way, when our Israelite ancestors put blood on their door lintels 3,200 years ago, why did they do it? Because they were scared stiff that the plague would enter their house. That's why they put blood on the doorposts. They didn't want that plague getting into their house. They weren't afraid of going. They were afraid of what was going to happen inside and outside. So that was a measure of their anxiety, that we want to protect our home. That's what we're feeling right now. And guess what happened? They were protected. They got through it. And with all their fears and uncertainties, they got through the Red Sea as well. And that's the story that we need to hear, and America needs to hear, and the world needs to hear right now. So Matt, that to me is a coping strategy. You know, find your story. You got to find your story that infuses you with some hopefulness and some strength. And I know, Matt, I'm sorry, you know me.
No,
so
you're
what
good.
what I would say is, let's also look at our personal stories in terms of that. You know, I had 4 grandparents who went through hell to get to this country. What we're living through is a cakewalk compared to what they did, traveling 1,000, 1,500 miles by themselves, trying to get to a port somewhere where maybe they get a boat to come here. You know, but they did it, and those are our ancestors. And we have to draw strength from the people that we come from. You know, we need to have, that's part of my coping strategy, to just know who are my people, what's my story, and that I can make my life a continuation of that story. Matt, I'm sorry.
No, please. I just want to add one other thing, and I think that's all that's so valuable. I think on that vein, we are actually quite blessed. We have the technology today that we have during this time. I can't imagine what would it be like if we didn't have this. But I would challenge everybody tonight to not necessarily reach each other through text messaging. Text messaging is it's a cheap connection. It's quick and a cheap connection. But I'd rather you picked up the phone. I'd rather you FaceTime. I'd rather have more of we need that human contact more now than ever before. And to go, revert to the text message, it's something that isn't going to, it's sort of like, empty calories. It's not going to fulfill us the way that hearing someone else's voice will, or seeing someone on the screen will. Much, much better than that.
So let's see. There was a question that I missed. All right. Whoever there was, if you asked a question, and it showed up on my screen, but then I lost it. If you want to unmute yourself and ask the question, please do. Hello?
Yes. Hi. I wanted to, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So I've just lost two people. I lost one, my dearest friends lost their mother, and we believe she died of natural causes, in and out of the hospital. I don't believe she died from corona. I can't pay a Shiva call. I can't do anything. I couldn't go to the funeral today. And I feel a sense of guilt. I also lost another friend today from corona, and I'm feeling helpless. So it's for me a really difficult time. So I want to know how to deal with that.
The normal things that we do at a time like this, we can't do. You can't hug people. You can't be with people. You can't sit with people and share your memories and share your pain with them. And that's a hardship. That's a real hardship, because that is so much how we move through pain. So to be denied those opportunities is just heart-wrenching on top of heart-wrenching. Is there any kind of a virtual Shiva? I've been hearing of people doing that. It's a little bit weird, but it's what we have right now as opposed to being isolated.
Yeah, so we did that today, and I sent food and all that, but that's fine, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So
when you ask, how do I do this? Honestly, I think my quick answer was that the best way you can.
Yeah.
First, of course, sorry for your loss. It's a heart-wrenching, and we will feel it. I think what Donna is correct. You can't hug your loved ones that you want to console. You hug the people who are in your house and sharing your house with you. Right.
my
And
point is, it's like you watch the news and you see the numbers and you see it as a distant thing, and then you get the call and it's a reality, and that's the hard thing to deal with. So that's what I'm saying. I can't go out, I can't go there, I can't send food, I can't do my normal things. I'm a warm, giving kind of person, and I feel trapped.
of course, why wouldn't you? Because you can't do the things that you normally would do. Of course, I imagine that the people who you want to share this with know you really well, and know that you are there in spirit and that you can come. And I think that's something that we have to take some solace. Our people know us. Our people know us well, and maybe we don't communicate that all the time, but our people know us well, and I'm sure that they know that you want to be able to be there and more for them during this time. And there's got to be some absorption of that in your mind, and you're going to have to repeat that to yourself over and over and over again. This is not going to be easy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry for your loss.
Rabbi, you're muted.
Mute now.
Okay.
Jackie? Okay, what I want to respond to is something that you said. You said you feel guilty. There's nothing to feel guilty about. You can feel sad that you weren't able to do for a friend what you want to do, but you have nothing to feel guilty about. You did to the limit that is humanly possible today. And we're all working in a world in which what we can do for people is not what we want to do for people. I mentioned before, I officiated at a funeral service this morning, and I have another funeral tomorrow. And when I see people at the cemetery, the family members, I see them, I'm wearing a mask, and I say to people in advance, we have to keep our distance. And it's not the way I want to function. I want to be as a rabbi, but it's the way I have to be. I feel sad that I can't have that level of closeness with people that I want, but I don't feel guilty because I know I'm doing what I can do, and that's all I can do. And what I want to say is this, Jackie, you did something now that, you shed a tear in front of all of us, which was, very courageous. And I just heard this story, and I got to share it with you, and I'm sure Matt and Donna will love it as well. I heard a wonderful lecture the other day by an extraordinary psychologist, Dr. David Pulewitz. And he told the story about Beethoven, who had a student who lost a child. The student lost a child, and she couldn't cry. It's just amazing how it works this way by coincidence. The student couldn't cry. So Beethoven, he didn't say a word to her, invited her into his chamber, and played music for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Never said a word to her, just played his music, and she cried. She cried because she had the ability to be in a place where Beethoven was receptive to her tears. She could express the tears of sorrow and the tears of sadness. And what he gave her was the important gift of being able to cry. So that may be what you need most of all, the gift of being able to cry and to have that feel that it's embraced by a community of people who are here with you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Do we have one more question? And then we're going to close it out for tonight?
I was just going to, one more thing to Jackie.
Donna, sure.
Helpful. Sometimes when we don't have the vehicle to express ourselves, journaling and letter writing is a very useful technique because it gives us sort of an avenue to put these feelings somewhere. So to write some letters or to journal, there's a lot of sadness, and it helps us to put it in a place where it's there and it's not necessarily all held in your heart the whole time.
Great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think it's time to bring this to a close. I know, to me, I think it's been a wonderful, wonderful hour. And I thank you, Matt and Donna. You were magnificent tonight. And thank you for sharing not only your thoughts, your expertise, but really your compassion and kindness with everybody on the Zoom with us here tonight. I know I gained a lot from our discussion. I thank you on behalf of everyone here. I do want you to know that we are putting into operation a helpline. And should you need to talk, we have about 10 incredible mental health practitioners, psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists. We got the gamut because we have a great congregation. And they are prepared. If you call the helpline, your call will be referred, and you will be put in contact with one of our people who will be manning or who will be responding to these calls on our helpline. Again, Matt and Donna, I'm grateful. I'm proud of you guys, and you have given us a great blessing this evening. So good night, everybody. Laila Tov.
Night.
Thank you so much.
If you asked a question, we didn't get to all of them, but we did see them. I did see them, and I want to follow up with those who had questions or insights, but we didn't get a chance to bring them up over the course of the session. Just know you are heard and you are seen, and we'll follow up in that way as well.
Thank you, Rabbis Donna and Ken, and Matt. Sorry.
That's good.
Thank you for being here.
Ken gets credit. He's not even here.
Sorry, Matt. I meant you.
That's okay.
He's just on mute.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.